Hello everyone. In today's video I bring you an impactful and chilling story. Let's meet Zephyrine Duval, a counselor from Cedar Falls who faced a devastating accident and experienced a near-death journey that transformed her life forever. She fluctuated between the physical and divine worlds, encountered Jesus Christ and received apocalyptic visions of disaster and a dark future, carrying an urgent message for humanity. What she witnessed will challenge everything you've ever imagined about faith and destiny. So, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you don't miss any details of this intense and surprising journey. My name is Zephyrine Duval, and at age 52 I lived an existence that, to others, seemed perfectly ordinary, but which carried at its core a silent restlessness. I worked as a counselor at a high school in Cedar Falls, Minnesota, where each day blended into the previous one in a serene, predictable rhythm, until I realized, albeit tentatively, that there was something more to be discovered in life. In long conversations with colleagues and in moments of reflection while observing the night sky, I wondered if there was a hidden message in everyday life, something that went beyond the routine and awakened a new perspective. One ordinary afternoon, while straightening papers and listening to the whispers in the hallways, an indescribable feeling began to form within me, as if a divine spark had been lit. Zephyrine, have you ever felt like there's more to life than meets the eye? Asked a close friend, whose voice carried the wisdom of someone who has already traveled many paths. I, in response, just smiled, aware that, although my words were calm, my heart was already preparing for something extraordinary. This inner awakening, subtle but insistent, was the prelude to a transformation that would shake the foundations of my existence. The lightness of my everyday days began to take on the shape of a grandiose narrative, and I, without knowing exactly where it would be led, began to yearn for answers, for a sign that broke the barrier of the ordinary, even before any dramatic event. I already felt the urgency to share my experiences, as if every word was a reminder to myself that life, no matter how routine it may seem, always hides a portal to the inexplicable and the sublime. This feeling of anticipation and discovery, almost like a whisper of destiny, surrounded me at every moment and made me believe that my journey was about to take on new contours, defying logic and opening the way to the extraordinary. That day began with the softness of an autumn afternoon, with the sky tinged with golden tones and the air charged with a silent promise of routine. I left school with the comforting feeling that everything was in its place. The familiar streets of Cedar Falls brimming with the peace that I cherished so much. He drove with an almost automatic calm, when suddenly, the distant sound of a revving engine cut through the silence. The next moment, as I approached a familiar intersection, the unexpected happened. A truck, apparently oblivious to the world around it, invaded my path. "Careful!" shouted a voice that echoed in my mind before the impact transformed time into a mosaic of images and sensations. The world seemed to slow down, each second stretching into an unsettling eternity, as the collision unfolded with an intensity I could never have imagined. I remember feeling the shock not just in my body but in my soul, as if every fiber of me vibrated with the intensity of the moment. Glass shattered, the sound of twisted metal mixed with screams and the desperate beating of hearts all around. It was then that amidst the chaos and confusion, I heard fragments of human voices mixed with hurried orders and murmured prayers. "Stay with me, you'll be fine," someone murmured, a promise that was lost amid the crash of the accident and the clamor of rescuers. The scene transformed into a whirlwind of flashing lights, sirens, and the indescribable feeling that time had ceased to have meaning. Every detail, from the smoke that rose like a veil of mystery to the worried looks of passers-by, was engraved in my memory. In that moment, the ordinary collided with the extraordinary, marking the beginning of a journey I could never have predicted. The certainty that my life was about to change irrevocably pulsed inside me, as the scene around me unfolded in a chaotic dance of emotions, pain, and faint hope, as if destiny was charting a new path before my eyes. The sensation was as if my body ceased to exist, and I found myself suspended in a weightless space where time seemed to flow slowly and indefinitely. I saw the scene as if I were watching a movie, but with a clarity that transcends any conscious memory. As my eyes moved across the chaotic scene of the accident, I realized that I was no longer tethered to my physical form. Every movement, every detail, from the shine of the headlights to the whisper of the rescuers, was revealed with an almost divine clarity. In an instant, the voice of one of the paramedics echoed in my consciousness, charged with urgency and compassion. "Keep calm. We're here with you," Marcus said. And even though I didn't recognize the human tone, I felt a wave of safety and comfort course through every fiber of my being. It was as if he spoke directly to my spirit, assuring me that life still pulsed even if I could no longer touch it. This silent dialogue, full of promises and contained fears, made me understand that despite being outside my body, I was not alone. The essence of humanity was intertwined in that moment of vulnerability and hope. As I floated, the scenery around me was painted with colors and sounds that seemed both real and surreal. I felt a strange mixture of sadness and admiration, as if each moment was an echo of existence itself, revealing the ephemerality of life and the persistent presence of the divine. In this whirlwind of emotions, my mind was filled with unanswered questions and, at the same time, with an unusual calm that can only be found in the deepest corners of the soul. The feeling of disengagement was mixed with the perception of a new reality, where separation from the body was the prelude to knowledge that transcends the ordinary. The feeling of pain and chaos began to slowly dissipate, giving way to a stillness I had never experienced. Amidst the confusion and despair, an intense and welcoming light burst forth as if it had been ripped from the heart of the universe. It enveloped every part of me, and in that instant, I realized I was being called to a place where pain had no place and peace reigned supreme. I felt attracted, unable to resist the magnetic force of this light that seemed to have a life of its own. Each speck of brightness carried with it a promise of renewal, as if inviting me to abandon earthly fears and dive into an ocean of serenity. In a soft murmur that seemed to echo in the depths of my soul, the light whispered words of comfort and hope, making it clear that despite everything, there was a greater purpose awaiting me. As I approached that luminosity, the atmosphere around me transformed. The noises of the accident, the screams and the sirens, were replaced by a silence, full of meaning, almost as if time had stopped to allow me to absorb every detail of that unique moment. "Fear not, Zephyrin." The very essence of that light seemed to say, an invitation to leave fears behind and embrace the truth that was unfolding. The beauty of that moment transcended any logical explanation. I felt an indescribable peace, as if I were surrounded by a blanket of unconditional love. My once turbulent emotions now calmed into a harmonious rhythm, and I allowed myself to be filled with a sense of total belonging to something much larger than myself. Every cell of my being vibrated in unison with the splendor of that presence, and, for a brief moment, all the doubts and uncertainties of my existence disappeared. Faced with that light, I couldn't help but feel that I was living on the threshold between two worlds, that of palpable reality and the realm of that which transcends human understanding. The experience unfolded so naturally that, even though I was aware of its singularity, I let myself be carried away, as if the light had already prepared me for the next chapters of a journey that was just beginning. As the light gently dissipated, I emerged into an environment that straddled the line between reality and the divine, where each element seemed imbued with meaning beyond human comprehension. In this space, the presence that materialized before me surpassed any conventional image of divinity. It was Jesus Christ, but not the figure I had seen in paintings or read about in sacred texts. His appearance was a fusion of serenity, strength, and compassion, and his gaze radiated a wisdom that seemed to capture the essence of all my fears and hopes. "Zephyrin," her voice echoed softly yet piercingly, reverberating in every corner of my being. It wasn't just a line, but a melody that enveloped the soul and dispelled the doubts that persisted. I felt as if, when called by my name, he already knew all the nuances of my story, including the shadows that I hid even from myself. The surrounding was filled with a deep peace as he slowly walked towards me. Each step seemed to mark the rhythm of time, and each word that fell from his lips carried the strength of 1,000 truths. "You are destined to be a messenger, Zephyrin," he continued, with the conviction of someone who knows the ways of existence. "There is a troubled future ahead, full of challenges that will test men's faith. But remember, true salvation lies in standing firm in the light, even when the shadows try to settle in." As I absorbed those words, a wave of emotion enveloped me. My hands shook slightly, not from fear, but from the intensity of the moment unfolding before me. It was as if every cell in my body was awakening to a reality that went beyond the mere physical. The presence of Jesus not only calmed the internal storm, but also revealed to me the hidden mysteries of a destiny that needed to be unveiled. The silence that followed was filled with an indescribable feeling of connection, where time stopped and the entire universe seemed to focus on that single instant. I knew that the mission now entrusted to me was of paramount importance, a calling that would require unwavering faith and courage to face what was to come. The intensity of the visions began to envelop me, and reality transformed before my eyes in a sequence of disturbing and revealing images. Through a haze of dreams and nightmares, I perceived the earth writhing under the weight of enormous earthquakes, which tore at the crust of existence and caused entire cities to crumble into dust and wails. Alongside the tremors, colossal floods appeared without warning, sweeping through streets and homes with a fury that seemed to devour even the remotest hopes. In the midst of this apocalyptic scenario, voices cried out for help, echoing a collective despair that, although indistinct, carried the urgency of an alert that could not be ignored. I saw, with distressing clarity, scenes of economic and social collapse where panic transformed crowds into wandering shadows, thirsty for answers that never arrived. Markets were collapsing, and confidence in everything that was solid was crumbling like sand in the wind. In the midst of this chaos, the figure of a charismatic leader emerged whose presence dominated the scene with a mix of hope and veiled threat. "They promise salvation, but they are artisans of control," whispered this voice full of warning, while the images oscillated between the fervor of crowds and the loneliness of those still seeking refuge. Every detail of these visions seemed to pulse with an inexplicable urgency, a call for humanity not to get lost in the traps of technological illusion and false promises of order. With each new scenario, I felt as if time was stretching out, allowing me to absorb every scream, every tear, and every shred of hope that insisted on shining even in the midst of the devastation. The revelation unfolding before me was not just a distant prophecy, but a direct call to action, a reminder that the future, however bleak, was still in our hands if we chose faith and courage to face the impending challenges. After the accident, every beat of my heart seemed to resonate with the intensity of a new reality, and the return to physical life brought with it a transformation that echoed in both my home and school. At home, the atmosphere was one of silent restlessness, where every look and every gesture revealed mutual concern. Everett, with his calm voice, tried to balance anguish and hope. "We're in this together, Zephyrin," he said, holding my hand firmly, as if to convey the strength needed to bear the load of this new burden. This coexistence, full of silent dialogues and complicit glances, showed the depth of our bond, but it also revealed the fear of the unknown that was now present in every corner of the home. At school, my colleagues and students noticed the subtle but striking change that had transformed not only my outlook, but also the way I related to life. In my conversations and advice, there was a tone of urgency and conviction that was previously non-existent. During a meeting with teachers, I heard murmurs of surprise and skepticism when I reported in a measured way my inexplicable experience. "You seem different, Zephyrin, as if you touched something we could never understand," commented a colleague, while I responded with a mix of gratitude and determination, reaffirming that this episode was the spark of a greater mission. At the same time, My students' questions, full of curiosity and fear, reinforced my conviction that I needed to alert and prepare everyone for the challenges to come. In informal dialogues, I heard small whispers of hope and fear that intertwined, as if each young person was searching for answers to an uncertain future. This new perspective on life pushed me to integrate my faith into daily practice, transforming my attitude in both the domestic and professional environments. The impact was profound. Every word, every gesture was now permeated by the feeling that the truth transcended the mundane, and that even in moments of uncertainty, there was a light that guided our choices. After everything I've experienced, each day has become a mission full of meaning and urgency. Today, as I walk through Cedar Falls, I feel like I carry not just the scar of that accident, but a new inner light that drives me to deliver the message I received. In long conversations with friends, neighbors, and even strangers, I talk about the importance of strengthening faith, recognizing the signs that time offers us, and maintaining hope even in the face of adversities that lie ahead. In the midst of casual encounters at the corner cafe, or in moments of silence on the city streets, people look at me with a mix of curiosity and reverence. Zephyrine, there is something about you that makes us believe that life can be much more than what we see every day. They hear murmurs that confirm the change that has occurred inside me. This transformation is not just personal but collective, an invitation for all of us to embrace spiritual truth and be prepared to face a future where shadows may attempt to disguise themselves as light. In my daily routine, the teachings I received are reflected in every gesture. When I guide my students or when I offer advice to my colleagues, I do so with the conviction that we are all immersed in a scenario of global challenges and opportunities for rebirth. Every word I speak is filled with renewed hope, which, despite crises and disturbing visions, calls for a return to divine love and true connection with the sacred. When I close my eyes, I can relive that sublime moment in which the divine message became clear and palpable. I feel in the depths of my being the responsibility of being a messenger of this call, a guardian who warns of imminent disappointment and manipulation that may appear disguised as progress. The legacy I want to leave is one of courage, unconditional love, and the certainty that the light will always prevail over the shadows, even when the world seems to fall apart. As I emerged from that transformative experience, I felt that the calling I had received was firmly established within me with the strength of an irrevocable destiny. Each day that followed was lived with the conviction that my existence was no longer just mine, but rather a legacy destined to illuminate paths and prevent disappointment. Walking the streets of Cedar Falls, I observed how small actions could create ripples of change. In candid conversations with strangers, friends, and even those who seemed skeptical, I reiterated that faith was the key to resisting the dangers of a bleak future. It was a continuous dialogue, full of hope and warning, which was established naturally in each look and each word shared. In quiet moments, as I reflected on the disturbing visions I was granted, I understood that the true mission was not only to warn of impending dangers, but also to inspire inner renewal. The transformation I experienced made me realize that genuine faith is not based on dogmas or empty traditions, but rather on personal experience and an intimate relationship with the divine. Thus, every gesture of compassion, every word of comfort, and every act of love was a tribute to that light that one day rescued me from the shadows of hopelessness. My journey became a symphony of encounters and farewells, where each farewell carried the seed of a new encounter with the truth and with the human essence itself. Amid the daily challenges and uncertainties of the world, I learned to see opportunities for growth in difficulties, as if each obstacle was a reminder that, even when everything seems to fall apart, the inner light never goes out. The mission he now assumed was to be a beacon for those lost in the darkness, a living testimony that, despite setbacks and crises, divine love remains the most powerful of transforming forces. And so, as I accepted this burden and this gift, I let myself be enveloped by an unwavering determination, knowing that the legacy I built would echo not only in my own life, but in the lives of all those who dared to believe in the light. Every word, every gesture was a seed sown in the fertile soil of hope, destined to flourish even in the darkest moments. If you liked this beautiful spiritual testimony, leave a like, comment on your impressions, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to activate the notification bell to watch each new video and help us spread this message to a greater number of people. Until next time.